What's up, y'all? So, nighttime is a time that I tend to do a lot of my thinking. And I know a lot of you may not agree, are not going to agree with this, but this is a thought that I've had ever since I was a kid, like younger. Something that I never understood, and it always baffled me. I may have addressed something like this in the past, but when it comes to spirituality and God, I think that a lot of people, I can't say if it's men or women who I think spiritual women get really offended by this if they don't try to look at it in a deeper sense. But men, I think, really become bothered by this statement. I believe that God is a woman, and I've never understood how you could have, religiously speaking, from what the Bible says, I've never understood how you could have a trinity that consists of all male energy, but also have feminine characteristics. First of all, and I have said this before, when it comes to the whole thing with how Jesus is so-called created, Mary was young. Mary was not married. God, in the form of the Holy Spirit, overshadowed her while she was betrothed to Joseph, right? And became pregnant. Did God rape her? Did he commit adultery or fornicate with her? How does that happen? And now you have this male, like, where is the feminine aspect of God? If you look at it from the standpoint of a female is supposed to be in the image of God as well, but all you have in the Trinity is all male aspects. And I've stated this, that I believe that God is a woman because nothing can be born unless it comes through the canal of a female. How can a man have how can a man birth anything? He can't. And I've always believed that God is a female simply because everything in nature dictates that life comes through the feminine aspect or female of everything. I've been doing some digging and looking into some things because when I first came out of Christianity, I was rather distraught over finding out that the Anunnaki did some genetic modifications to the human race, and seeing the the rift that they had with Atlanteans, I feel like the Anunnaki is the male race, and the Atlanteans were, I would say, female or mostly female. But if you know anything about the story of the Anunnaki, how they had to leave where they were and they came to Earth to try to find gold to help save their planet, they pretty much by force subdued the feminine race. And it's a whole thing, I feel like over time, it's always been this thing to put women down, to make women feel bad from the very beginning, making Lilith seem like she's evil. And if you don't know anything about the Anunnaki story, you're just going to have to go back and find out, okay, where Lilith ties into all that. And Lilith is supposed to be the other aspect of Eve. Eve was the one that became submissive, and again, it's this whole thing of where we come from, the side of Adam, from his rib. And when the Bible talks about coming from his side or coming from his rib, it actually means not his actual rib, like the side in his body. It's his DNA. But I don't understand how females come from a man's DNA when you need... I believe that it was something where the man with the Anunnaki took something from the females to have a race, but did something to subdue us. They put in us a gene to want to worship. So let me just see, because I can't remember the whole name. What is the full word for where we get the word rib when it comes to our DNA? And I'll show you guys what it is. Okay. I stated this on one of my other channels. I cannot say this word. This is not the word that I'm looking for. Is this it? Okay, here's the word I'm looking for. It is spelled DEOXYRIBONUCLEIC acid. I cannot say this word. Deoxyribonucleic acid. And that's where we get the word rib from. But it basically means DNA. Okay. So for those of you that like to take the Bible literal, like they teach for so many years, that I believe that we actually came from his side, the side of Adam. And Adam is just another word for atom, like the atoms that are in our body. It's just taking a part of it. When you look all through history, and this I feel is because of the Anunnaki. Anything that has to do with females all through history has all been downplayed and made to be in subservience to males or masculine energy. The Bible puts women down in a lot of Middle Eastern countries or just all over the place. Women are not looked at as being anything. Men, because we live in such a patriarchal society, are always being put at the top. And here's a question. Is God gay? Is God gay? Because there's so much, I don't understand how you have this tribunal essence that is nothing but male, but and claims to be so high and so mighty. But still needs the essence of a female, or claims to have feminine attributes and characteristics. How is that possible? How? How are you all male but have feminine qualities? It sounds a little gay to me. Because when you look at men that are gay, they try to act like they're feminine. They try to act like a female. A lot of them want to be a female. Not all, but their whole thing is to want to be a female. They want to walk like females. They want to act like females. They want to have their bodies shaped in the image of a female. The makeup, the hair, the language, the dramatic way in which they speak. That's just something that has always made me wonder and feel like God must be a woman and cannot be a male. But the males that created this image of men as the Godhead in some way do not like women. They must have some type of hatred towards women because they cannot be a woman or female. Why is it that the man gets to be the head and not the female? And when the female is the head, there's, this disdain or this feeling like, how dare we put ourselves in any place of authority? Women are looked down on. Feminine energy is looked down on. Feminine energy is looked at as being too emotional. But when you look at the way that men or masculine energy acts, they are the hardest, they have the hardest time dealing with their own emotions. They can't deal with their own emotions. They get very highly offended. They're very sensitive, way more sensitive than females. And then you wonder too, I don't feel like a man could be strong enough, or masculine energy is strong enough to birth anything, because look at what a female or feminine energy has to go through when it comes to birthing something. We are the more dominant energy or species. And then you have these men, because I feel like they get upset want to tell a woman what to do with her body. We actually determine if we want to have a life come into this world or not. And so in order to gain some kind of control, these laws get put in place to determine what we should or should not be allowed to do with our body. How can you do that? It's this whole male dominance, masculine dominance thing. They have to have control over everything, and with them, it's always this hierarchy. There was a lot of fighting, when it comes to the masculine aspect when you look at the Anunnaki. But it's something that I've always had a problem with, looking at things religiously in the Bible. I feel like the Anunnaki are our oppressors. Like, that's the thing that got me really upset when I came out of Christianity, is that we were basically made to be their slaves, and it said that, there's this whole thing of Christ coming back. Well, where the hell is he? Because it's been thousands and thousands of years, and yet and still it's always being said that he's returning soon. Well, I guess soon ain't soon enough, because this is the longest display of coming that I have ever known. Like, he's been coming for a very long time. So it's just, stuff that I think about. I just don't feel like, and again, this is one of the reasons why I don't really care for religion, because I don't feel as though religion is a favorable thing for females, because it just puts us down. It puts us in a place where we have to go to a man in order to have anything. Like, we're not smart enough to do anything, and we're basically the man's servant or slave. Like, it's always the woman that has to, take care of all these so-called household duties. Like, they just put us in this place of subservitude, like I said, especially back in the day. So I've been watching Downton Abbey on Prime, and you see so much of how women have no kind of place, for females to speak up, speak their mind, or do certain things, that it's so unbecoming. You know what I mean? This is what they have no say. When I tell you, I will never go back to a religion, ever. I will never go back to a religion. It is not for me. But it just makes me wonder, and I don't know how many other people, like, if you believe that God is a female, put it down in the comments, because I really, really do. I don't feel that you can have everything that started, even when you look at the thing that's called, what is it called? The Viscus Pisces. And when you look at the beginning of life, when it starts like this, as a cell that splits, but when it splits off, it does not completely separate. And that hole right there in the middle is the birthing canal. When you see pictures, they show pictures of Jesus inside of what is considered the Viscus Pisces, the birthing canal. Everything has to come through a female or some feminine aspect in order for it to be birthed. So how on earth could God be a female? How on earth could God be a male? God is a female. God is female energy. It's feminine energy. Everything started through having to get birthed through something. a man does not have the ability to create life, but he damn sure likes to take it or dictate it when it comes to a female. I've always believed that God was a woman. And I know that this would rub a lot of men wrong. Probably some females too that are super religious. May not be able to see it. But, you know, you just literally, when you think about it, you cannot have life without a feminine aspect. So when the Bible talks about creating, how can you create anything without feminine energy? Just makes sense. I'm so tired. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. If you don't know, like I said, anything about the Anunnaki, their whole thing, and the Atlanteans, I feel like they came here, you know, that Earth was perfectly fine until the Anunnaki needed somewhere to come that they felt at the end. And then they basically fought over territory that's not even theirs. Like, how you just come to a place? Doesn't it sound a lot like Christopher Columbus discovering the Americas when America was already populated? That's like the story of the Anunnaki coming to Earth. Anyway, y'all let me know what you think. Y'all feel like God is a female or not? And do some homework. Be well.